Welcome to Dice and Mind, a podcast hosted by Brad Brown and Jason Kaufman to explore the intersection of life, games, science, music, philosophy, and creativity through interviews with leading creatives. All are welcome in this space.
The one time we decided to do, and I guess we're going to call it an episode. We don't know when this will air, but an episode like this, it takes us 3 times to actually get this one started, which is
It
somewhat
does.
hilarious.
It is
So
hilarious.
this is actually the third time we hit record on this one, but this is something we kind of said we never were going to do,
We were never going to do this.
which is in effect a live play recorded.
This is our first and only actual play episode.
Yes, and it very well may be a false start. So who knows if you're actually listening to this, then that means by some weird measure we've either run out of material and we've been forced to release this, or
Well,
it's somehow past our very lazy standards, and we felt it was acceptable enough to put out into our library.
or more honestly, this is the first time you and I have had on the calendar to actually play and made it work in a long time.
A
A long
long
time, a
time.
very long time. And so, and then you've been nudging me for months and months. We should record it and
Well,
just see
no,
what people
no,
think.
yeah, and I
So let's go
I
for it.
didn't. I saved this part of the conversation and to do this while we're recording. When I said I wanted to record it, I didn't necessarily say for release. I didn't meant for release though.
That is fair. Well, nonetheless,
Yes,
this will
I
be
meant to record it just because a lot of times when we do these, they can get somewhat hilarious. Now,
we're going to try
because
to
there's a
behave on
potential,
this one.
yes,
Yeah.
because now there's a potential for us, well, now that we're recording it and we're introing it, the
Yep.
likelihood of us releasing it is
It's
high.
very high, yes.
We have to behave ourselves,
A little bit.
which
Hopefully it'll
which
still be funny.
which will make it a little less hilarious than it normally would. But that being said, um, I forewarn you, this will not be like other live plays that you hear from
Yeah.
other STA luminaries and other folks
Right.
who are
In other words,
experts in the
in other words,
games.
this will not be a good actual play episode,
Yes,
but
this will be for those of you who
welcome to our
are
world.
new to the game or are just interested in hearing two middle-aged guys duet playing for the heck of it. If you are in a traffic jam
That's right.
and need something to listen to and have gotten bored with NPR, then perfect. This is what you want to listen to.
Now, we will
So
be in character. We will not be in voices and accents. Not even going to try.
no,
We're just going to go. Um,
because
so yeah,
all of my different national accents
you
come
sound
off
like
as
an Irishman.
perfect fake Irish.
Yeah, the
So
emphasis on the fake. Yeah. Yeah, it's
yeah.
true.
So
It's true.
it's really I'm not going to even
Nope.
attempt it here.
It's better for
So
everyone if we don't do that.
no.
So, all of that said, thanks.
That being said, before we
Yep.
go, I do want to indicate, just for the sake of people here, I have in front of me,
Yes.
I have, from the days of when Modifius would release dice sets with, um, I can't remember what they
The
were,
challenge dice.
the challenge dice
Mm-hmm.
and three D20s.
Yep.
I have a set of command operations and
It's
science
a beautiful bundle.
D20s,
Yep.
three. So I have nine
Yep.
D20s in front of me in case by the sake of the GM, I need a pool of nine. Unlikely.
Unlikely.
I am going to be taking notes in Notepad to
Yeah.
start if I need them.
If you need them. Yeah.
Yep.
Probably won't.
And then you have a nice little setup because you've been preparing for this
Well, I
for a
have
while.
my 3 blue science dice, my D20s. I have my threat and momentum chips that I got on eBay that are beautiful, a joy to play with, have a nice feel to them. I have my notes displayed around me so I can see what I need readily. And I'm using the Star Trek Adventure Second Edition GM screen
Yep.
if I need it as a quick reference.
Yep.
And of course, we will be playing Star Trek Adventures Second Edition and our homebrew adventure. We
Your homebrew. Let's
well, we'll
be
s-
clear now.
well no well, but this is a sandbox, so it's ours
It's a sandbox. I mean,
because we're
obviously,
going where you take us.
right,
Mhm.
but you have taken time, and I say this because you have put forth a good amount of creative effort to build this in a way that, as you have indicated to me outside of the recording, it's a sandbox. So where it goes is really kind of going to be driven by
You.
um,
Mm.
Captain Breton McCardell and his crew
You got it.
of
The
of the
USS Tethys.
yes, Tethys.
Yes. We'll get into
Um,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
So,
So
so welcome to session one of
yes,
Star Trek Adventures Ethics of Our Fathers. We see a beautiful galactic starscape in front of us, and in the distance, not too far, but in the distance, is a gleaming Federation starship. And as the camera angle zooms in, moves closer, the stars spreading out, not stretching, but spreading out. And we see the image of this beautiful starship resolve. We see a familiar yet not entirely familiar saucer section. And as we get closer and closer, and this starship begins to fill our field of view, and we start to do a bit of a flyby, as if we were just moving solemnly around this just beautiful, elegant starship. One that looks like it's seen some action, but still very, very well maintained. We see it is clearly one of the Constitution 3 class ships. And as we come back over the top of the saucer section, we see proudly scripted across the hull the USS Tethys NCC 53066. And as we angle a little bit to the side and come in closer, we see off of the bridge the windows looking into the conference room, and we effortlessly do one of those pan shots where we just move through the plexus steel. And here we are, we find ourselves in the conference room adjacent to the bridge of the USS Tethys. Seated at the long, gleaming conference table are the officers, the bridge officers of the USS Tethys. We have Commander Nikel, a female Vulcan, your XO, your first officer. We have Lieutenant Commander Sodu Glail, the Chief Security Officer, a male Bajoran. We have Lieutenant Commander Biz Thovelnok, an Andorian male who is your chief science officer. We have Lieutenant Commander Avi Cohn, your human male chief engineering officer. And then a little farther down the table, we have Lieutenant Nishka, your non-binary Orion Khan officer, and sitting across from them, Lieutenant Jekko Ello, your Cardassian female ops officer. Uh, at the head of the table, of course, is Captain Breton McCardell, the human male who looks and sounds oddly like Brad. And in
shocking,
shocking and fascinating. And
fascinating.
hovering, largely, slightly larger than life size, hovering over the center of this long, large, gleaming conference table is the partially translucent holograph, or I should say hologram, of Admiral Ben-Ami, who is providing you your orders, Captain McCardell. Now, you've already heard these, received them, confirmed them. You and your crew are at the conference table so that they can hear and see firsthand. And so what you have is what you have is everyone's paying attention, and we focus in our shot to this basically bust, slightly larger than life size hologram of your commanding officer. And he just started. Captain McCardle, you were ordered to take the USS Tethys to the Astra system on the rimward edge of Federation space to test the experimental Higgs boson cannon. I don't have to tell you that word of this test run would provide poor optics for Starfleet among the Federation worlds. It is thus imperative that you conduct the test run with all due discretion. You are instructed to run with the signal jammer at all times and to avoid visual contact with any other vessels, friend or foe. I look forward to your return to Starfleet HQ for a full report. Signed, Admiral Ben-Ami, Starfleet Command, United Federation of Planets. And with this, your officers are eyeing each other, and you notice that when the Admiral said, I don't have to tell you about the optics, a number of your officers gave each other a bit of a look because, of course, it is the year 2405, not long after the second and final Borg incursion. And Starfleet is the Federation is a very different place and a much more inclusive place than it was just a few years ago. They also especially gave each other a bit of a side eye when they heard the instruction to run the signal jammer at all times. That is simply not something, as you know, and your officers know, that that Starfleet vessels tend to do. At this point, as you are composing your thoughts, your security officer, Lieutenant Commander Glale, stands, and she walks over, as initially instructed by you. She walks over to the display toward the back of the conference room and pulls up schematics. And she begins to explain the technology behind this mission. Because even though this hasn't been a secret on the ship, everyone has been trained for this mission, still questions abound. And so Lieutenant Commander Glale explains that the Higgs disruptor cannon, and here I'm going to add a few details for the sake of the game mechanics as well as the story, but the Higgs disruptor cannon is unique in Starfleet. It's unique in technology. This was something that initially was considered at a theoretical level during the no longer recent Federation Dominion War, and then was mothballed when the war was over and peace reigned again. And after the Borg and Founder incursion into all the way to Earth, there were those in Starfleet HQ who thought this is a good technology that ought not to go to waste, since, if anything, the history of the Federation says that exploration and peace invariably will be broken up by times of strife. This is largely the spearhead of Admiral Ben-Ami, and it's not well known. Now, the Higgs disruptor cannon, it can only be used effectively at close range. So here we're talking, tens of kilometers, maybe 100 kilometers out, but certainly no more. It's never been tested in the field before. It's estimated that it will do fairly considerable damage. Now, to use it, to fire it, you'll be rolling a weapons plus engineering, and I'll remind you of this at the time, weapons plus engineering roll for the ship, and you can assign that to the relevant officer, right? Probably security. It takes time to fire right? You got to charge the capacitors and all that good stuff. So once you initiate it, it can't be stopped, but it also takes a bit of time. We're talking like seconds, not minutes,
Okay.
to fully charge, and you're locked in. Plus, shields have to be down for that duration, and of course, running the signal jammer. I will say again, um, the last thing. How does this look? This is a massive weapon. Again, not really what the Federation and Starfleet are known for. So when I say massive weapon, we pan out for a moment with our camera view, back out over the saucer section of the USS Tethys. We then pivot under the rim, and we are now looking up at the underside of the saucer section. And there is a forward mounted cannon running from the neck of the ship right down to the engineering hull. There's a forward mounted cannon that runs from the neck of the ship all the way along, like integrated with the entire underside of the saucer section until maybe just
Not
does
detached, so
not
it just kind
detached,
of runs.
right.
Okay.
Exactly, just not detached until it naturally kind of separates from the saucer section, just shy of the rim, as the saucer kind of naturally in its engineering tapers up. The cannon then that provides its clearing.
Okay.
So this matters, and I'll just drop this here, and then we'll get on with it. This is something that even with the signal jammer on, which it is, this is something that upon visual inspection, if there were a ventral view of the ship, would be very easy to detect. It would not necessarily be clear that it is a weapon, but it would be imaginable. It would certainly be evident that this was out of the ordinary. And so, with that, Lieutenant Commander Glale nods to you, returns to her seat, and sits down, and all eyes are on you.
I want to look real quickly at the communique again.
Mm-hmm.
Run the signal jammer at all times.
And you are, by the way, at warp. Not fast,
Yes,
but you're at warp 4, warp 5, whatever it is,
toward the Astra
toward the
system.
Astra system, right? And you've been for the past couple hours, few hours, as you
Okay.
head to the very, very rimward edge of Federation space.
Okay. So Glale sits down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I turn to senior staff.
Mm-hmm.
I can already sense that people here have questions or concerns.
You're
So
saying this.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in
Mm-hmm.
character now.
Mm-hmm.
So I can already tell that people have questions or concerns about this. So let's open the floor. Um, I'll Commander Nikel, questions, comments?
That's excellent. That's actually, I gotta say this so everyone knows, that's actually exactly what I had put in my notes, that she was going to say something. So
Okay.
we'll start with excellent. Before I do that, though,
Yes.
I would like you to roll a presence and command.
Okay.
Difficulty 1, but the reason for this is you are relatively new as commanding officer of the USS Tethys. This crew has been together for for quite some time longer, probably the better part of a year, maybe a bit more than a year. Because this mission has been planned for so long, you were identified and brought on just a few months ago. So
Okay.
let's roll. It's difficulty 1, your presence and command.
Presence is 9, command is 3,
Okay, so you've got a task number of
12.
yes,
So I need to roll
12 or under.
12 or under.
And double check if you have a focus that applies. I'm just going to remind us of that because we're
Yeah,
both bad at it.
I have
If you don't, you don't. It's okay.
yeah, and I'm looking I guess What am I rolling? What are you actually having me roll on?
So your
Excuse me again.
presence and command is just uh, to convey your sincerity that this truly is an open forum for your officers to voice concerns and questions. Because they don't know you implicitly yet, right? Trust is still growing.
I have leadership at Starfleet Protocol, but um,
I'll let you use it if you want.
I could argue leadership, but I think it's a little. I would argue it's maybe a little early
Works for me. Okay, so just do a
for
cold roll.
that.
It's
So let's
only
just do
difficulty
let's do
one.
a cold let's
Yeah,
do a cold roll.
yeah.
16, so it didn't matter anyway.
So, so there's a little bit of eye aversion, right? But you already called on, as it were, your exo, which is the proper
Mhm.
thing to do. Um,
Yep.
Commander Nykel looks at you, nods, right, like out of respect, if you will, and
I stop and say, Commander, as we don't know each other, but I also am well aware that Vulcans can't lie, so I know that you will be um, absolutely forthright in your um, response to my question.
thank you, Captain. She says, uh, but I also know you to be a captain of integrity, and you have earned my trust in the way you command this ship. That said, Captain, I appreciate your opening the floor. As a career officer, Captain, I am concerned regarding the use of the signal jammer and the message it might convey if, on the very low probability chance, anyone else comes within sensor range of us. Perhaps not in the Astra system, but if we should pass other ships at warp and they are scanning.
Um, Out of character, um, I don't know a lot about the Astra system. Is there, um,
I can tell you. So the
yeah,
Astra system
what
is
can you
on.
tell me outside of a role, in terms of,
Well,
you
let's
know,
do it. So at this point, Lieutenant Commander
oh, you know what?
Leo,
Let's do this.
mhm,
Let me
and
pause. Let's do this in game. Let's do this in game. I'll do this from a science officer perspective. Um, you know, um, so let me look. I just want to look
yeah.
here. So,
So
um,
Lieutenant
so
Commander Thovelnuk.
Thobel, Commander Thovelnok, what can you tell me about the Astra system?
So
Um,
your male Andorian science officer,
yes.
who is normally fairly taciturn,
Yeah.
uh, kind of smiles and sits to attention. Well, Captain, and his antennae start to go. You can tell he's into this. It's actually a rather fascinating system, Captain. The Astra system, as you know, and he looks at everybody at the table, is on the far, far rimward edge of Federation space. It is about as far out as you can get and still be in the Federation. The Astra system is centered around a Type M star, but it's about the size of a white dwarf. Now, interestingly, and at this point, you can see Lieutenant Nishka Khan, Orion non-binary, and Echo, sorry, Lieutenant Elo, Ops, Cardassian female, younger, little newer.
Mhm.
You can see them give each other the look and kind of put their heads down in their hands, like, oh no, not again. Right? This crew has some history with each other, but Thovelnok keeps going. What's interesting, Captain, is that the star, right, Astra 1, is prone to radiation storms. And we're not sure
Mhm.
why. But there's that. Now, there are, Captain, 7 planets in the system. 7 planets, most of them are gas or ice giants. Astra Epsilon is the 5th planet. It is a gas giant the size of your Earth's Jupiter. Now, there's no ring like your Jupiter, but it has numerous small rocky moons, similar to the Martian moon of your solar system, Deimos. Most of the moons are 5 to 6 kilometers in length or width. Now, whereas Jupiter in your home system has hundreds of moons, it's thought that from the latest scans that Astra Epsilon has maybe a few dozen of these small moons, and uh, and it seems that we are to pick one of those, sir, as our target. All the moons have been certified by Starfleet Command as being lifeless. And then the antennae stop quivering, and he kind of leans back, satisfied in his seat.
You said that they have been certified, Commander, as lifeless?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Commander, when we're done here, start preparations on picking a moon for the time being, just so that we have that ready as we proceed. Um,
Gladly, sir. Lieutenant Commander Glale, may I ask for your assistance on this? As security officer for targeting, and of course, Glale, she looks at him and says, "Absolutely." Um,
um, Commander Nikel, I apologize. I wanted to come back to you. I interrupted you before. Um,
no, sir. That was my concern. Just
okay.
the optics
Yeah,
as it
I,
might present.
and I'll come back to that because that is a legitimate concern that I wanted to discuss as a team. Commander Glale, concerns, thoughts?
Captain, I have many thoughts, but no concerns. Again, Glale, security, majority female. Uh, uh, we have been tasked by Starfleet with a really unique opportunity to test a weapon, test a technology that's never been utilized before. And hopefully it never will have to be utilized in a time of war. But should that be necessary, the USS Tethys will be at the vanguard of helping to ensure the peace. At this point, Lieutenant Commander Avi Cohn, your chief engineer, your human male chief engineer, kind of sheepishly raises his hands. And I will say, for our sake and our listeners' sake, there's a bit of a young Scotty vibe going on. I'm not going to do the accent, but like it's
Okay.
younger, but really quite exceptional.
Okay.
Yeah, and so kind of raises his hand sheepishly.
Commander Cohen, please.
Yeah, hey sir, just kidding.
Okay.
But
Oh, I
he's
was so hoping you'd go into that.
I
Yeah.
know. Um, Lieutenant Commander Cohn looks at you and looks over at Lieutenant Commander Thobelnok, right, for science officer, and says, I'm as eager as anyone to try this. The engineering behind it, honestly, Captain, it's like nothing I've seen before. Like the theory behind this technology, I can barely comprehend it. That said, it is sure to wreak havoc with the ship systems, right? We've got necessarily, as instructed from Starfleet Command, the Higgs boson cannon plugged in via EPS conduit to at least half a dozen systems across the ship, all as is proper, all as it should be, sir. But I just want us to be aware that going into these test trials, we'll we'll need to keep an eye on the Tethys as much as on our target.
Commander, I want you to um, run as best you can, run simulations, and get back to me with um, what you believe we could see in terms of outages and or potential damage to systems. Do we need to look at um, um, preemptive, bringing down systems preemptively? What can we do preemptively to protect ourselves before we fire this off? I know that Starfleet did not give us a lot of insight on this.
Hmm.
I have a great deal of trust in your abilities. I know full well you're not going to be able to give us, you know, every answer for it, um, but anything that you can provide as we are making our way to the Astra system.
Yeah,
Let's try to find as much as possible before we fire it off. I'm one of the things I'm going to do before we give the okay to fire it is I want you to be able to have a comfort level with it.
thank you, sir. I'm comfortable with it. Well, I know we've been running simulations based the whole way out. We've been running simulations based on Starfleet Engineering Corps data. They assure us this is going to be absolutely fine. Piece of cake. I don't believe any engineer who says that. Um,
I don't.
yeah,
I want your commander.
yeah,
I understand that, and I love what the folks at Utopia Planatia and at Daystrom and at the other organizations say, but they're not out here.
that's right, sir.
They're not down in engineering, and they're not standing next to the warp core like you are.
That's
So
right.
I want you to.
We will
Yep.
continue to run simulations until we arrive in the Astra system. I will tell
Right.
you, it's running these simulations against the ship specs. It's proving really complicated. I don't know that I'm going to have definitive answers for you, but I
I
can
won't
at least
expect
give
that.
you, okay, I can at least give you, I think, an estimate of the likelihood that there could be hiccups along the way,
Yeah,
and then we'll
and
fix them.
yeah, and to go along with that, Lieutenant Glale, I would like to have a um, an evacuation plan ready for the areas in the saucer section the um,
Around the
the
cannon.
cannon,
Consider it
around the
done, sir.
cannon.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
let's
Very good,
move
sir.
folks away from those areas before we fire it.
Lieutenant Ello, your Cardassian female ops officer, looks over to Cohen, right, your engineer, and just says, I know we've been talking, but maybe we can go over once more the EPS conduit guides, and we can just better prepare together, maybe configure our stations so that they mirror each other, so that I can assist all of you. And Cohen kind of nods.
Yeah, and Lieutenant, while we're talking, what are your thoughts on that? On this?
You talking
Thoughts,
to your
concerns,
ops,
etc.
to Ello?
Yeah, yeah, it's a
Uh,
yellow.
Sir, I mean, she's a good ship. And I will do everything I can to assist everyone else who's actually running the equipment. My plan, as I've been briefed by Lieutenant Commander Cohn, is to keep an eye on the power indicators and look for fluctuations and especially alert Lieutenant Commander Glale as she oversees the firing to make sure we don't get any nasty surprises.
Got it.
One more
Got it.
very meek hand goes up, and it's Lieutenant Nishka, your non-binary Orion Con officer, who's the youngest of your crew,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And you think she's a bit of a paler shade of green at the moment.
I keep thinking of what's her name from Lower Decks?
Yeah,
A quieter
then,
version of
yeah,
uh,
Tendi.
yeah, Tendi.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
keep thinking
Actually,
of like a
probably not. I mean, I don't know that she can kick butt like that, but yes,
yeah,
yeah. Maybe a cross between her and Erica Ortegas from Strange New Worlds, because
okay.
right, Nishka flies the ship.
Yes.
Right, and that's what she. And so when you look over to her, she's just, sir. It sounds like we have to be rather close to our targets. Um, how
Yeah,
close
I
are you
think
hoping
that's
to get?
yeah, that's we have to get it sounds to me very close. So from confirm for me, Lieutenant Glale or Commander Glale, Commander Thobelnach, what do you both believe together we have to be? How close do we have to be to one of these moons to fire off that cannon?
Dovelnak looks over to Glail and nods, and Glail nods back and looks at you and says, "Captain, um, the briefing from Starfleet HQ and the Corps of Engineers is that ideally we're within dozens of kilometers, so that we can avoid misses, so that we can take the best data possible, because that's really what we're after. We're not trying to destroy anything so much as to collect as many field data as we can and then bring them back. We could maybe start farther out, maybe closer, sir, to 100 kilometers. And so at this point, Nishka looks over Uh, looks over kind of
Can
almost,
I let
yeah,
me ask
yeah.
what is the expected like immediate damage from a hit from this cannon? I mean, are we expecting penetrating damage? Are we expecting damage of an explosive shrapnel nature? I'm just trying to figure out, when we fire this thing, because I am expecting that.
And I kill your
Um,
XO pipes in, especially given that we can't have shields raised at the same time.
yeah, and I'm anticipating Lieutenant Nishka here is trying to figure out how we're going to have to fly the ship out of the way of what happens
Yeah, yes,
when this
sir.
fires.
Are we talking about a handshake, a hug,
Yeah.
something riskier and inappropriate? I, she's an agile ship, sir, but and the amount of thrust she has is incredible, but there's still only so fast we can move her away from something, given that we'll have to be faced precisely at whatever it is because the cannon can't pivot.
Yes.
Um, it looks like both Thovelnok and Glail, right, Science and Security, are about to say something kind of like defensive and optimistic, and and Lieutenant Commander Cohn, your engineer, he's like, Sir, let's just be honest before anyone else tries to sell this a little more strongly. Yes, it's my job to be conservative. That said, Captain, we honestly don't know. No matter what we think, the data out of headquarters, data out of HQ are not conclusive. That's why we're out here. It's one thing to fire this from a test stand. It's one thing to fire this as a smaller model. What we're doing, sir, it's not been done. It's why these EPS conduits are routed all over the ship because of the amazing amount of energy, right? This will basically take the entire Tethys to power for just that moment. Um, the boom's going to be bigger than smaller, and that's what we know.
Okay, then what I would like is um, Lieutenant Cohen work with Commander Cohen, work with Commander Thobel, not Commander Glail. I need to get an understanding based off of the energy expected to pull that this cannon is going to pull. What is the expected explosive tendency going to be for the moon that Commander Thobelnach is going to pick?
Aye, sir.
Um, Based off of that, um, we need to fire this from a safe distance. I'm sorry, but tens of kilometers, that seems to me, that seems dangerous to me. Obviously being my background I have a science background before I went into, um, that we need to determine what a safe distance is based off of how nimble our ship is. And then, Lieutenant Ishko, then we can give you a distance by which I
Yeah,
know your flight skills.
yeah.
Use that available. I don't think we're going to if we can fire it at tens of kilometers and we know that we are safe enough and can fly out of here, then great. If it doesn't look like that, or if there's a question mark, then we're not going to do it. So I think ultimately, to all of you talk, the concern here is we have a cannon built onto our ship that we know very little about. It is, let's be honest, its arteries are now fused to us in ways that we cannot get rid of.
Mm.
It is connected to us in ways that are, it's not going anywhere. This isn't something that's detachable.
Nope.
So we have to live with it. Going back to signal jamming, yes, that is a concern of mine. I understand that us flying around with a giant cannon built onto our ship could scare our friends that are not Federation. It could scare Federation partners. Um, I want to have I want to have a call back with Starfleet when we're done with this discussion because I want to get some further clarification on this before I make any sort of final decision on how we're going to handle it long term. For the short term, we're going to follow the rule as we're going to follow the directive as it's been indicated, and continue with jammers on. But I will say, full disclosure, even as a captain, it does make me a little uneasy to do that. But that being said, and it does make it uneasy because it feels like we are being a little bit, we are hiding
Mm-hmm.
in
You
an
get a lot of
era
nods
that,
on that.
yeah, we are hiding in an era where we are trying to be more open.
Yeah.
Um, but we also have something attached to us that could draw the wrong attention from the wrong people that we didn't even necessarily know about. And we didn't know about the latest attacks, the people that attacked us just most recently. Go ahead.
Right.
Sorry.
So with that, Commander Nikel, your Vulcan female XO, just sort of not mumbles. Vulcans don't really mumble, but says quietly, "Ad astra per aspera, indeed." And you see the view, right? The camera recedes back out, and we switch, and time has presumably passed. We are now on the bridge of the USS
Mhm.
Tethys. Everyone is seated. On the view screen is this beautiful, glorious, right, wide angle is the widescreen view screen are the stars streaking past warp, and Lieutenant Nishka, your Orion Con officer, says, "Captain, now dropping out of warp as instructed, we have arrived at the Astra system." And you hear the right as the warp cores power down, and now you suddenly are looking at a static starfield, beautiful, and in the distance, right, maybe just a few, tens of millions of kilometers, is the Astra Primary, this lovely white dwarf in the distance, glowing brightly, and awful bit to the right, as you see, is and it's identified like squared on the view screen with the data and the metadata, is Astra Epsilon, the gas giant, the fifth planet. And Nishka concerns, "Sir, course laid in for Astra Epsilon, awaiting your command."
Um, okay. Just have I'm watching reading notes. Commander Nikel, did they give did we get the data back from the team as to which moon we're going to be firing at yet?
Lieutenant Commander Tholnak, science officer, turns around from his station and says, "Sir, all the moons check out. They are all in different periods of orbit. Truly your preference. They are all ranging from approximately 5.4 to 10.2 kilometers in length, some of them a bit more oblong, some of them a bit more spherical. They all appear to be likely captures of Trojan asteroids from the creation of the solar system. Initial scans confirm they are all lifeless. Um, really preference, and when we're ready to commit,
Firing on any of them cause any damage to Astra Epsilon 5?
Oh, a good question, Captain. Um, Lieutenant Commander Glale, Security, Bajorn, turns from security station and says, "It does not appear so, Captain. We've been running initial simulations with Lieutenant Cohn's help down in engineering, and now he's there in back, given the importance of
Okay, I
this."
was going to ask that. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, he's there at engineering in the back. Um,
Well, hold on. Before we fire on any moon, we're going to make sure that we're not going to damage or cause an issue with the orbits of the other moons or with the planet
Uh,
itself.
yeah, uh, she says it does not appear to be so, looks back to Thovelnok, who looks to Nikel, your XO, your Vulcan. She says, Captain, I've been fully briefed on the orbital mechanics for the moons. None of them are in resonance with each other. It's possible that debris from the one or more moons we fire upon could impact one of the other moons. It is unlikely, and there is no reason to assume it would affect their orbits. Also, sir, given that Astra Epsilon is a gas giant, um, even if we were to send an entire moon into the planet, it would barely cause an eddy in the outer clouds. So there does not seem to be any concern regarding orbital mechanics or dynamics.
Right.
But Nishka
Do we?
turns around, sorry, from Khan, and she's like, "But Captain, I would like to know how close you want us to get."
That was my next question. Do we have? Do
And
we
see a little
have?
drop of sweat trickling down her forehead.
Yeah. Yeah. Commander Cohen, do we have an idea of safe distance of fire now?
You know, sir, uh, as as my instructor at Starfleet Academy would have said, I'm an engineer, not a doctor. But, the on the way out here, our simulations indicate, based on what we know of the Higgs boson cannon from Starfleet HQ and engineering, that a few dozen kilometers should be sufficient. The size of the moons are tiny, not relative to the ship, of course, but we don't have any reason to assume we couldn't get out of the way if necessary. But of course, we could always start from farther, sir.
Lieutenant Nishka, tell me, if we fire from 100 miles away, from 100 kilometers away, kilometers, sorry.
It's the future. No one uses the
Yeah.
Imperial units.
Yeah, sorry. If we fire 100 kilometers away from one of these moons, um, what does it look like for you in terms of being able to pilot if there is debris?
It looks like a good time, sir. At 100 kilometers from our target, we should have absolutely no problem evading anything that comes our way. It's a matter of being
How about
able.
50? How about 50 kilometers?
I think we're still okay, sir. I'd start to get a little uncomfortable any closer before we see what this cannon can do. You know, sir, as you know, the Tethys has 4 large impulse engines aft, and we can, to use a non-technical term, Captain, we can haul if we need to in a straight line. But reverse is different. So backing up, I mean, you know the deal. We have thrusters. That's not going to do it. We need enough space, Captain, where should some piece come hurling at us, given that shields will be down, and your XO commander Nikel says, and given the remarkable improbability of such a thing, we need to be able to accelerate and gimbal as quickly as possible. 50 kilometers, sir, no problem. One hand on the
Commander
console.
Nikel, what are your thoughts on distance?
Well, sir, to quote the ancient Earth song, we're going for distance, we're going for speed. So I think at 50, there should be no problem. I concur with Lieutenant Nishka. Less than that would cause me concern if I were to have emotions, Captain.
Okay. Any other concerns, number one?
No, Captain.
All right, pausing in character for a minute
Yes.
as I think about this.
That's good, because I need to pause for a sec to pull my stats.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You jumped so quick. The only thing was you jumped from ready room to Astra system so quick
Mm-hmm.
that I was going to like have a ready room conversation with the Admiral, but you didn't give me a chance because that wasn't part of the story, apparently. Because I was going to see, and
Mm,
that wasn't part of the sandbox, which is fine. That's okay.
yeah,
That made
that's
it
fair.
easier for the
Good.
discussion. That made it easier for the story. That tells me that it didn't have to be part of the story.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Right. Right.
so,
Because I
so
will say you know Admiral Ben-Ami to be he would not have spent a lot of time with you on subspace, and you probably wouldn't have gotten anything more from him.
yeah,
Right. He's not someone
yes.
you would choose to work for. He was the superior officer in this case.
Yeah, and there's just and I the problem when I play is I sometimes make like I do comparisons to episodes in TV.
Absolutely.
So I'm thinking to myself, okay, is this a um oh, who is the admiral in Insurrection where he went rogue?
That's you're gonna, but you're embarrassing both of us on here. Yeah,
Ah,
I know who you're. I know who you mean. Um, yeah, don't worry, there won't be any skin stretching sessions in this
Admiral Doherty.
Doherty,
Doherty.
of course. Yep, very good.
Or Admiral Layton in DS9.
I would say
You don't
that
have to tell
Ben.
me. Don't say
No,
anything.
no, no. I would say that Ben Ami, in terms of attitude and style, is very much what you would get from Captain Jellicoe if he had even more rank.
Oh, okay, great.
Now he's not going to be wrong.
Right. No, no,
Yeah,
no, no. I'm
yeah.
not saying that. I'm thinking storyline
Ah,
wise.
mm-hmm,
Um, so, sending us out here,
mm-hmm.
um,
Where you
you
can't be
know,
seen.
can't be seen, jammed up out to
Yep.
some weird backwater. Um, I still don't like being out here with this thing strapped to us. Who knows what's going to happen?
Yep.
Um, you know, Ethics of Our Fathers is the title. There's just something about this. I'm not,
Well,
you know,
remember we had talked about this, and I knew you wanted something that had some action, but also was more
yeah.
cerebral, and could be
Mhm.
one of those kinds of episodes.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes, and that's why and to be honest with you, as I'm thinking about as I'm and what I'm trying to do, to be quite honest with you, is as I'm sitting here and talking
as
through
we're
this,
metagaming, go on.
yes, there's a small part of me that's like, I wouldn't mind like making choices that sometimes will surprise you
Yeah, awesome.
as the
Yeah,
gamer, as the
yeah,
game
as a
master.
game, absolutely.
So, um, not to like throw a wrench in the
No, no,
gaming
no.
works, but throw a wrench into what you think the captain would do.
This is why it's a
You know,
sandbox, because I
yeah,
knew, like, I mean, we've been friends for a long time. I know what kind of
yeah,
things you like to play in, and this is like the first time either of us has designed something like this where you can test that out.
yeah,
Right. I mean, I have hypotheses about how you might respond as Micardo, but we'll see. Before we jump back in,
yeah.
something for you and the listeners to know. I never told you this, but just to kind of keep in mind to help you better understand your ship, the USS Tethys, its talents: improved impulse drive, advanced sensor suites, advanced research facilities, improved warp drive, and secondary reactors.
Secondary reactors,
So
nice.
you really,
Okay.
yeah, um, you really have this. It's quite the ship. Okay, so
And it's funny, there is a personal, we don't have to get into the whole details, but I liked the NCC number, by the way.
yeah, that's for you.
Um, yeah, I figured. One, two, it's funny. I remember it was before I moved. I remember when we were talking about what class ship we should
You
use for
so
this.
wanted the Constitution 3,
Yes,
and
and
it's
I
a
remember
gorgeous ship.
I still remember I was in the driveway of my old place
Yeah.
saying, because you're like, well, what kind of ship? And I'm like, my favorite class these days is
Mhm.
been the Ross. the
I
Ross
and
class, which is,
and
and
we
I specifically said I'm not going to do that this
yeah,
time.
it would have been too powerful and too large for the kind of
Yes,
story we want to have, that I want you to have. Right,
yes.
right.
So I specifically said we can't do that, and
Mm-hmm.
so I'm like, okay, well then we got to do a Connie 3,
Yep. And you got it.
in honor of Star Trek Legacy,
Yes,
um,
yes, yes.
and in honor of
S-
the Titan
Okay,
Enterprise 3.
so a
So
100%. So back
Enterprise
to the
G.
bridge. So Lieutenant Nishka turns and says, "Captain, orders?"
I'm not being indecisive here, folks, but I have some misgivings about firing on a moon in a system in the Federation right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Number one, are there um, what other areas within this area of space might we find? Could Are there other areas, asteroid fields, anything else where we could actually use this weapon and test just as an alternative in case?
Uh, Lieutenant Commander Glale, right, your Bajoran
Yeah.
security officer. She turns to you. In fact, I keep saying she turns to you, but so key. And I apologize because I forgot to address this early on. So key is her role in this mission. She's actually sitting in the center left seat, with Nikel as your exo on the right. That's how, right? She's essentially the
Oh, the
attaché to this
three?
problem. That's
Okay.
how this is really abnormal. Not in an uncomfortable way necessarily, but this is. She turns to you though and says, "Captain, having been fully briefed on the mission and on the technology, to my understanding, right, to the limit of my understanding, not as a scientist, um, it is my understanding, and I take it on good credit, that this system, and especially these planetary moons, are as antiseptic as possible. The weapon has to be tested, sir, and I am not aware of anywhere else near in any adjacent sector that presents this range of safe options. Your exo commander Nikel turns to you on your left, right? Glale still looking to you. I'm sorry, turns to her left. Looks so Glale's looking on your left. Nikel now looks on your right and says,
Glale's on my
on
left,
your left
Nikel's on
and
my right.
right, right, because the
Okay,
exo's
good.
on the yeah, and so
So
Glale.
in effect, Nikel is where Rafi is, and Glale is where
Perfect,
Jack
Jack.
Crusher is.
You got it exactly right.
Okay, thank you.
I was gonna go with Riker and Troy, but yes, yeah, same
Okay,
thing. So Nikel, your XO, turns to you and says, "Captain, at the risk of overstepping, I am fully confident in Starfleet's analysis of this system. I spent considerable time with this same concern. There are very few systems that are, as Commander Glale said, as antiseptic. There are no documented cases of any type of life form in the entire system. All the planets had been scanned more than a year ago, and there was deep probe scanning of all of the moons around Astra Epsilon. Exactly. And so there it is. And so we know, courtesy of deep probing, that every one of these moons is is completely free. Um, we can certainly, though, look elsewhere. It's at your discretion.
Commander Cohen, what are the steps to prepare for cannon firing?
Well, Captain, colloquially, basically you push the big red button. Everything is set up. There's nothing overly special any of us have to do. Lieutenant Commander Glale.
When do the shields go down, and how long are they down?
Excellent, sir. When you give the word, Glale will then follow suit. Um, we drop our shields. When you give the word to fire the Higgs boson cannon, we drop our shields. We immediately initiate firing pattern. We estimate that requires 15 to 20 seconds to gear up. The firing itself should be essentially instantaneous. Think of it, sir, as um, a remarkably glorified phaser beam. That's what it ought to look like. Uh, it'll be a very tightly collimated beam of whitish light. Um, and then whatever happens to the target happens. We, sir, are expecting significant damage to any of the moons. Um, Lieutenant Commander Thovelnok, your Andorian science officer, turns from the science station and says, "That's right, sir. Our best estimate, based on power availability from the Tethys, uh, coupled with the simulations from Starfleet HQ, is that on a 5 to 6 or longer kilometer rocky moon, we are expecting to leave a fairly sizable crater." Glail then turns from your left and says, "That's right, Captain. Uh, this weapon was initially conceptualized back when it was theoretical, purely theoretical, sir, to be sufficient to pierce the shields and hull plating of a Dominion battleship in a single shot. So, if
After
not,
pulling your shields down for 20 seconds and taking a beating by that said Dominion battleship.
your Exo Nykel turns to you with an expression you have come to know is her Vulcan version of not condescension so much as "I'm going to talk slowly so that you understand me," because and says, "Well, yes, Captain, but this is a prototype. What we're testing on this mission presumably will never actually be incorporated into Federation ships in its current manner. We are the first ever to test this instrument in the field. I must assume, sir, with logic, that that problem, as you say, will be solved prior to. And
Thank you,
which
number one. I never would have come up with that on my own, having come from.
Lieutenant Nishkin, Lieutenant Ello from the front on Con Ops, they kind of give each other a very, like, you can see the side eye, like, "Oh no, oh boy." And then Lieutenant Commander Cohn, right, engineering, turns and says, just that's funny. I lost my train of thought. Turns and says, what I can, reading between the lines of the technology of the instructions and the guidance, sir, this is clearly a weapon and instrument intended to be placed on a sovereign class, on a Ross class. Who knows? These days, maybe even a Galaxy class. Now that they're talking about taking them out of mothballs, the Tethys is a is a Constitution 3 class. She's a tough ship, Captain. You know that better than any of us. But this is a big weapon even for her.
Interesting.
Yeah. You
And
hear
we have
you hear Thovelnok kind of whisper to himself absentmindedly because he does that, like, "Speak softly and carry a big stick."
We have no fear that we're going to have any sort of power fall off or inability or loss of impulse engines or anything like that after firing then, Commander.
Lieutenant
Cohen.
Commander Cohn looks at you, yeah, and says, "Sir, we really don't know. We really don't know. The fact," and he just says, I'm assuming that another reason we've been ordered this far out to the Astra system is not merely to have the protection of cover, of we don't want anyone to know that we're shooting things, but we don't want anyone to know that we're shooting things and might be temporarily vulnerable.
Interesting enough.
Yeah.
All right. We have our orders. We can talk all we want, but orders are orders. Boy, I really wanted to throw a curveball here, but I'm
Do
afraid
it.
that it would. But it.
It's your sandbox.
I know, but I have a out of character. I have a HomePod Mini and I move something, and all of a sudden I have like ambient music playing in the background. That was just
We can't hear it,
kind
but
of
I'm glad
creepy.
you're relaxing. Ooh,
It was
it's
just a
like
little too creepy that
the
was playing at the same
cosmos is
time.
sending you a hint like, oh, now
Yeah,
it's
it
getting
was a little. It
real.
was, but it was
That's great.
it was like 70s yacht rock music playing in the
Oh, well,
background,
that's unfortunate.
Like
You know.
Christopher Cross playing as we
Okay.
were, which I like, but it was just odd music. It was like not in line with the mood
That's
of the
great.
situation. So, um, um, I feel like I want to throw a curveball, but I want to play this out. I'm gonna flag this moment because I'm going to come back
Hmm.
and someday I'm going to ask you. I'm going to tell you what I thought about doing here.
Hmm.
Um,
Again,
and
it's
then you can
totally up to you.
tell me, oh, that would have been interesting, or that wouldn't have made a difference. We could talk
Okay. Okay.
about it
Yeah,
like
that's fair.
post
Well,
story.
yeah, perfect. Okay.
So, all right. Um, Lieutenant Ovalnock, begin evacuation procedures near the cannon. Number one, work with all the teams and
Everyone kind of gets
begin
going on their
preparations
yeah.
for fire. We can start the firing sequence in T minus 2 minutes, or
Very
T
good, sir.
minus 2 minutes from when evacuation procedures have been completed.
Very good, sir. Lieutenant Ello at Ops, or Cardassian female officer, about a minute later says, "Sir, uh, adjacent decks all reporting in. Adjacent decks cleared."
Lieutenant Nishka, I want you to be ready. We know that we don't know for sure what the anticipated issues are going to be after firing. Um, um, Lieutenant Thovelnock, let us pick a moon that is far from other moons and far enough from orbit
Hmm.
from the
Hmm.
planet.
Hmm.
Lieutenant Ishka, maneuver us so that we are out of range of any other objects in case there is any issue post fire. And then as soon as we fire, be ready for us to maneuver, but be ready for potential issues that may arise after fire. We know full well, like we just talked about, that um, this is literally, we are having a mouse fire a howitzer. We do not know what's going to happen afterwards. You may not be able to immediately evacuate us from this area, so be ready for um, us to just be ready to use your skills. I would like number one, send out a shipwide communique and tell everyone to prepare for a firing test and to, as they say back in the earthen days of sail, batten down the hatches.
You hear a bunch of "Aye, sir, aye, captain" from around the bridge, and a whole bunch of things happen essentially at once, like over about 30 seconds, as everyone complies with your orders, with your instructions. Lieutenant Nishka, your Orion non-binary con officer up front, you can see them working their panel, and you can see the stars slewing in the view screen as the Tethys comes about and rapidly moves within 50 kilometers of the moon of Aster Epsilon in the highest orbit. You see it locked on screen, and Nishka relaying this information of targeting locked on, moving station at 50 kilometers from the rocky moon. Thovelnok at the same time is reporting all sensors active and focused on the moon and its surrounding spatial environment, Captain. Um, Lieutenant Commander Glale, Bajoran Female Security, Captain, now, and she's like in her armrest, right? Transferring, transferring control, ignition control to my station, to my chair. Now, sir, Commander Nikel, your XO, saying, calling out loudly, robustly after making that announcement on comms, shipwide, calling out, red alert, silent mode, and you hear the what, and then it's just the red flashing, right? Um, and then somewhere you swear you hear a little bit of Beastie Boys. No, not really. So, but that's very exactly. But that's very much the vibe. Lieutenant Commander Cohen, engineering, human male, reporting through the din and the commotion. Sir, all stations checking in, engineering checking in, all EPS power conduits are go, and you are ready to go. And it's been about
Fire.
2 minutes. Aye, sir, says Lieutenant Commander Glale. Okay, so we need to roll a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so it's going to be Glale, but I want you to roll for her, and I'll
Okay.
roll the one die for the ship.
Okay. Then with the Glale, I'm going to roll a yellow operations
Ooh, I
die.
like it. Very nice. Very nice. So with Glale, you are going to roll for her, um, control and security. So that's a task number, a difficulty of 13.
Six is 2, 13. So I need to roll under a 13.
13 or under, yep.
Yep.
You go ahead and do those.
Ooh, ooh.
Well, that's good. That's a one.
Yep. That's a
Yes,
1.
that's a critical success.
Yep.
Beautiful. So like you said, ooh, you had me worried. So that's
Yeah.
two successes right there.
Yep.
And roll the other one.
6.
Okay, so you have three successes. Oh, nice. Jeez.
Hmm.
Now I will roll. I just lost it on my notes. Sorry. I will roll. Um.
Did you hear the roll?
The first one I did. Yes. Oh, here we
Okay.
go. I will roll
Here, let's
weapons.
let's do it
Oh,
again. Let's
okay.
do the double roll. I'm
Oh yeah,
you keep
please
the
do.
numbers. I'm just
You
gonna do
keep
the
the numbers.
sound
Okay.
for it.
Yep.
Ready?
Good call.
Didn't hear it?
No, Zoom. It's
Damn.
okay. Zoom cuts it out.
Stupid
I know. Stupid
stupid noise
technology.
suppression.
Yeah. Um. So I'm going to roll weapons and engineering, and that would, I'm sorry, weapons and engine. So that's 19. 13. So four successes when aided by the Tethys. Okay, so, oh, that's interesting. Okay, so what happens immediately is you see Lieutenant Commander Glale with two fingers on her right hand just kind of press the illuminated whatever replaces like the modern LCARS post LCARS button. And as it happens, and again, not to cross the streams as they say, but you get very much the Death Star powering up. So you get this and
Oh
the
boy.
whole ship starts to vibrate. You can feel it on the
Oh
bridge.
boy.
Lights are starting to flicker. Some of the panels are going. Uh, Lieutenant Commander Cohn in engineering and Lieutenant Commander Thovelnok science. They both report all systems nominal. Seeing some, especially Cohen, seeing some power fluctuations, but we are still go. Shields are down, signal is jamming, and there's nothing happening, nothing happening, nothing happening. And then, oh, that's gorgeous. Brad just changed his background.
I can't believe I waited this long to do this.
Yeah, that's
So
much better. Yeah, now there
yeah.
we go. Is that from STO?
I just grabbed a Zoom
Okay,
background
nice.
of a
Sorry.
bridge.
I like it. So, couple things happen. First thing is like literally lights are like blinking in and out. Some of the panels are going nuts. The ship is vibrating, but it's everyone's reporting in, and then it's space, so you don't hear it, but you almost feel this. And from the cannon under, so basically under the view screen and out toward this moon at 50 kilometers, you see this massive collimated beam of white light that is like scintillating almost
Don't
organically with these
don't
rainbow
cross the
colors.
streams.
Exactly. And it hits the moon, and two things happen. One, you hear Lieutenant Ello, Cardassian female in ops, yell out because there's a din now with everything going on. Yell out, Captain, sensors are down ship-wide other than visual. As she reports that, you all see the moon struck, there you go, struck by this beam, Brad. The beam stops. The moon, which is about just shy of 6 kilometers long, kind of like peanut shaped, if you will, well, just oblong, kind of ovalisk. The beam stops, and in a fraction of a second, you see that white, scintillating light kind of like shine through myriad cracks in the moon. And then the moon obliterates as violently as you can imagine. The entire, and it doesn't vaporize. The moon shatters. 6 kilometers long, three and a half wide at the center, just shatters, and there are pieces everywhere. As sensors go down, and just before sensors go down, you hear Nishka, Lieutenant Nishka, right, Orion on Khan, yell, "Captain, we've got incoming debris."
Okay, shields up. Sensors are down. I haven't heard anything otherwise.
Doot doot doot. Shields pop back up.
Okay.
I'm not going to make you roll for that because there's not a problem with shields.
Okay. Tanishka, do we have thrusters? Get us out. Do we have impulse? Get us out of here.
Aye, sir. And you've been on the Tethys long enough. You can essentially feel all four of those impulse engines
Yeah.
ramp up, and boom, and it's such a push. God, I mean, to use a colloquialism from ancient days, Lieutenant Nishka put the pedal to the metal. You can feel there's so much thrust from the Tethys that it takes a moment for your inertial dampeners on the ship to catch up with the thrust. So exactly, you are all pushed back in your chairs and at your consoles, and you see the starscape like slew rapidly away to the left as the ship gimbals to the starboard, and you see pieces of moon from 50 kilometers away zipping by, glowing, molten, and you can hear and feel the ping 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 as bits and pieces impact your shields. And a moment later, literally like 2 seconds later, Lieutenant Commander Glale, a little more calmly, your rejoined security officer, says, Captain, we are out of range of the debris. No further damage to our knowledge. And then Lieutenant Commander Cohn, engineering, reports, Captain, I estimate sensors are going to be down for 17 more minutes.
Dent in the moon, you folks, huh? Dent in the moon, huh? If we're out of range, folks, let's pause here and let's assess additional damage and ensure, and because I want to start to pull in all data on what that did to our systems. I want to know how much energy that pulled. I want to know what happened with that weapon where it tore that moon in half.
Not even half left to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the camera pulls away from that. Pulls away from all of you. Lots of movement and motion and commotion on the bridge. It backs away from the USS Tethys. And what I want you to imagine, you and our listeners, is now we're pulling away from the Tethys, this beautiful, like you said, Connie 3 class, like the image you just sent me, which is gorgeous. And and what you see from just a little bit of distance is still the flickering of lights in some windows, and in the distance, in the far distance, is the Astra star, right? Flaring a little bit, but it's just a little white dwarf. And then you've got this hulking Jupiter-like planet, Brad, off to the right, not far away. Magnificent, the clouds in the upper atmosphere roiling, and looking a little bit to the left toward the center of the screen, 50 some kilometers now farther behind the Tethys, is this ever expanding cloud of glowing debris and dust and movement. And so we pan away from that, and it's been about 20-25 minutes, and we are now in your ready room. And you are behind your desk, not the conference room, your ready room. And
Booing myself?
well, I mean, if you're gonna poo yourself, that's where a
No, I'm not.
captain should do
That's
it. No, I
yeah,
know.
no, no, no. I'm not.
Look, better you than Nikel.
Yeah.
Nikel is there. You're sitting. She is standing as your XO, providing you her report, her summary report of all of the other divisions having submitted their findings. Before we get into what she tells you, describe for us. I'm putting you on the spot here. Have some fun with it. Describe to whatever extent your ready room. This is what does
Oh,
Captain
yeah. Okay. So
McCardle's
what is
ready?
what?
Yeah, what does McCardle's ready room look like?
Yeah. So yeah, because no one really has a background, and I should probably provide a little bit of background. So the Captain McCardell has a background. Um, he was he had a more traditional biochemistry type background from a science perspective.
Okay.
He was very interested growing up in like historical science. So from his perspective, he was fascinated by the study of science. So it was almost like the study of science throughout history. So he did he did Starfleet research and his thesis on the original Genesis.
Oh, isn't that interesting? I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, you
Oh,
don't know any of this. This was
no,
stuff that
no.
was going to come up during the story. I've kept
Good
this
for
from.
you.
So the original Genesis,
And that, so no wonder HQ asked you to lead this mission.
yeah, the
Okay.
original Genesis project. So that is why he was very cautious and wasn't necessarily a big fan of going out here and hiding and then firing a weapon in the middle of a planetary system. But again, he's also a captain and was following orders. He also had always wanted to be a Starfleet captain, but he never was a person to idolize anyone. His parents died when he was young. He grew up being raised by his grandparents and an uncle who he was very close to.
Okay.
So when you were to look in his ready room, you'll find like old-fashioned Bunsen burners,
Oh, interesting.
old-fashioned beakers. You will find I gotta look it up here. You'll find a couple starship models, an old-fashioned Oberth class
Nice.
model
Nice.
ship,
Yes.
an old-fashioned it I gotta look up the class of the ship. Um,
I'll bet I know.
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't.
Not a
Yeah,
pasture.
the old fashioned. It was a Kelvin class, a
Oh,
science
oh,
vessel.
oh, not what I was thinking. Okay. Very
Yeah.
cool. Were
So
those
he
ships he
was.
served on?
Yes,
Nice.
yes, science vessels. So before um he was always fast. And then he got into like engineering and into the science of like warp drive and all that. And he's always been fascinated by ships that um, flew with different configurations than normal. And I think that's
Nice.
probably
Nice.
different and non-traditional configuration. That's probably another reason why they brought him in. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
when you look at if you were to look, it's very well organized. But if you were to look in there, um, oh God, what's her name on Strange New Worlds? Carol Kane's character, um, engineering, head of engineering in Strange New Worlds. Um, what's her name?
Oh, Apelia.
Apelia.
Sorry. Yep.
It's not messy like Pelia's, but there's like a couple like
Yeah.
old sciencey stuff where you're
Right.
kind of like because he was fascinated by how science was moved forward in the 20th, 21st, and even early 22nd century by forefathers, especially in the areas of biology and chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Even in the early days when Earth was just beginning to understand that
Yeah.
we weren't alone in the universe. So
Very
nothing
cool.
like you don't find um, um, stirrups and a bridle. You don't find
Yeah.
anything that
No,
cool
but
like in
he has
Christopher
his
Pike's.
thing. Yeah.
He has his things, but he does have something that is reminiscent of other captains. There is an aquarium on
Nice,
there.
nicely painted picture. That's
So
interesting. Okay. So you're sitting there, Captain McCardle is sitting there, uh, listening to the report from your XO from Nikel, and she's going through it and says in brief, Captain, all divisions have reported in. Uh, it Security wise, we now know that we will be without shields for
fields,
I'm sorry, we will, yeah,
sensors.
we will be without shields when firing, sir, for
Oh,
we have to assume for at least 30 seconds to get, so this would be a concern and something we'll definitely want to report
mhm.
to Starfleet when we return. It looks like every time we fire the Higgs boson cannon, we can now assume with a high degree of certainty that one or more systems will temporarily fail. This first time it took 17 minutes to restore sensors. There are many situations where that would be highly problematic.
Number one,
Uh,
was the loss due to a power loss or
yes,
was
yes,
it
sir. That's
okay?
exactly right, Captain. We believe that these issues are due to the fact the cannon is tied in to so many power systems. It's fully integrated with the Tethys. Hence the unpredictability of system specifics, but the near certainty that systems are going to be unpredictably affected each time. Um, this can manifest in any number of ways, and we don't think we're going to be able to predict it. That said, we were fortunate. Shields responded right away when you brought them up, and we experienced no damage from the explosion. However, Captain, had the shields not been raisable, uh, we expect we expect we would have encountered moderate, probably more minor damage to several decks. Certainly hull plating. Now, as for the explosion, sir, this is not, as you would be fond of saying, not what we signed up for. This far exceeds anything HQ predicted, or quite frankly, Captain, revealed that they predicted. So, on the one hand, Captain, my summation would be this was a stellar success. On the other hand, Captain, we are at a time of major peace, and this weapon is far more powerful than possibly anything a Federation starship has ever carried aboard it, sir.
Now I'm in my ready room.
Now you're in a red room. That's better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
change my background.
yeah. I have concerns, sir.
Number one, uh,
Please stand by for a geriatric pause.
yeah, I can't believe I lost what I wanted to
I
say
think
verbally. I
you look
literally,
like you have multiple thoughts trying to get to the
yeah,
fore at one
it
time.
literally just number one, be direct.
Sir, you had voiced.
No filter. I mean, not that you're number one. I understand
I,
that you'll
pre-
always be that way, but
I appreciate that,
give it to
Captain.
me. Give it to
You,
me straight.
of course, sir. It's what I admire about your leadership, sir. That's what you
Mhm.
want. You expressed concerns earlier today that this was an awfully powerful weapon. I would concur with that, sir. I am concerned that any captain should possess this much power unsupervised. I understand the perceived necessity, Captain, but what have we unleashed?
Yeah, the question here, or the comment I have here, number one, is that it would have been unleashed whether it was us or whether it was some other crew,
Of course, sir.
right?
Hmm.
Um, Now the question is, now that we have unleashed it, what do we do about it?
Just at that moment, just at that moment, over the over the I was gonna say intercom, not so much. You get the beep beep, and overhead it's Glail, Bajoran Security Officer. Captain, you need to come to the bridge right now, sir.
All right, number one, let's go.
You both rapidly egress from your ready room. Uh, and as you approach your seats, well, you tell me.
We're
What
gonna
do you do?
we get up and we walk, and I'm assuming
Hmm.
my ready room is right off of
Yep.
the
And so
bridge.
you take your seats. What do you do? What do you say?
Okay, while we walked in, we come to
Yeah.
the bridge.
Yeah.
I go to commander. Commander, what is it?
Sir, we just detected an incoming warp signature. High speed, estimated time of arrival 5 minutes.
Do we know what kind of ship?
No, sir. We are having a hard time getting a track of any of it. We can see the warp signature. That's about it.
We are
It's
not supposed to be here, so Lieutenant, do we have warp drive? Do we not?
Yes, sir. Says Lieutenant Mishka. Yeah.
Um, we need to. Um, I think we're going to play this a little bit safer than, because if they see us with this gun on this ship. Before I do that, number one, assessment.
Captain, we have to assume that any moment now they will have a sufficient sensor lock on us that they will begin to evaluate the ship. Signal jammer is confirmed, but that in and of itself will presumably raise suspicions if this is a ship from a known polity. You hear Lieutenant Nishka. Order, sir?
Nishka, Sol system, maximum warp. Engage.
Aye, Captain. And we pan away from the bridge and we see the beautiful Constitution 3 class USS Tethys turn its four impulse engines, start to light up that beautiful glowing red, and then we see these massive nacelles, right? Really quite sizable for the ship,
Mhm.
light up, and boom!